You need to have a thick skin. You need to have people skills. Business is all about people, whether it's your own staff, whether it's your customers. As someone leading a business, you need very much to know your own mind. But in making up your own mind, you have to be careful that you're listening to people, and that you're listening to enough people, and that you're listening to the quiet person in the room who's not going to talk unless you get them to talk or invite them to talk. Sigma Coatings Malta was set up in the 1980s. It started with a lot of work providing marine paints to the dockyard, where there was a stream of ships coming in for dry dockings and repair work. For many years we were the leading provider of paints and anti-fouling paints to the shipyard. In the 80s we also started producing paints for the decorative market, so the architectural market, houses, buildings, and also for industrial uses. So today we are active in those three markets. So the architectural sector, which is buildings, the marine sector, which is ships that are passing through Malta or doing work here in Malta, and the protective coatings sector, which is more industrial coatings and specialized coatings. Our business, Paints and Coatings, is all about two things, protecting and beautifying. So the prime objective is usually making sure that an asset, whether it's your house, your ship, your factory, is coated and protected from the elements and from anything that might affect them. But also there is a very important aesthetic component to it as well, especially when it comes to the architectural sector. You don't want to just protect it, but you want it to look great, and you want it to look great for a long time so that you don't have to repaint it fast. One word: quality. We've been in this business for a long time, and our longevity is a product of our consistency. So we make our paints, we produce our paints locally. There are also some that we import, some very specialized paints. And we are extremely careful that we manufacture the paints using the very best raw materials and using the very best processes that are available. So when I talk about quality, it's the product itself, making sure that you are using the very best materials and the very best processes, and that will give you a consistently performing product. But also quality in the service that you give, because at the end of the day you're not just selling paint, you're giving a service to people. You're advising them, you're helping them, you're trying to understand what they need and then finding the solution that is best tailored for them. I first started quite a few years ago, so I think I've mellowed a little since then. I think it's important that you don't try and solve all the problems of the world every day, just a few at a time. So you have to, in business, I think you have to really measure yourself, you have to work out what your objectives are in the short, medium and long term, and you have to focus your efforts in such a way as to achieve those objectives along the timelines that you've set. So the importance of long-term planning and following a strategy rather than just operating, I think that would probably be one of the biggest changes over the years. It's not always easy, and I don't always manage. One simple old school trick is a to-do list. I always try and set down before I get sucked into the computer and emails and daily operations, I always try and list 3 to 5 things that I need to get done that day. And if I manage to get to the end of the day and I've done them, then that's a good day. I think success motivates me, and I think I think success is what motivates most people. But you're not always going to have success. You will have setbacks, and you have to develop a thick skin. You have to take things in your stride. And while they don't motivate me, setbacks definitely make me more determined. I don't like them, so I try to make sure that they don't happen again. Success is moving forward. Sigma Coatings is Malta's leading paint brand. But the moment that you pat yourself on the back and sit down, you've had it, because there are hungry competitors out there, and they want not their own piece of the pie, but they want your piece of the pie too. So it's extremely important that you keep moving forward all of the time. When you think you've got it sussed, you need to be thinking again. You need to be thinking of new areas where you can be working, new ways you can be working, new things that you could be doing to make your existing customers happier and to attract new customers in. You asked me about setbacks. I mean, setbacks, as I said, they don't motivate me, but they teach you. And it's extremely important that with every setback you learn a lesson which you later apply when the need arises. So certainly that would be one thing that I think you have to be doing all the time, learning all the time. A thick skin. You need to have a thick skin. You need to have people skills. Business is all about people, whether it's your own staff, whether it's your customers. As someone leading a business, you need very much to know your own mind. But in making up your own mind, you have to be careful that you're listening to people, and that you're listening to enough people, and that you're listening to the quiet person in the room who's not going to talk unless you get them to talk or invite them to talk. So really listening and surrounding yourself with people who are ready to tell you the things that you don't necessarily want to hear. You need to make sure that people know that they can give you bad news and that you will take that constructively and use it well. I hope not. I'm sure sometimes I do. There's a lot of work to be done, and if I try to do it myself, one, I'm usually not the best person at doing it, and you just will get completely bogged down. So if you do micromanage, then you're usually in for a tough time. As I said, you have to keep on moving forward. I would like to see my business more diversified, bigger. I'd like to see it active in new markets, both geographical and in terms of sector. But these are not things that happen. These are things that have to be planned carefully and achieved in a team environment with a lot of people who are good at different things. I'd like to be remembered as someone who did a good job and who people liked to work with. I think the most important piece of advice would be, however good your idea is, you have to put the first focus on a need, somebody's need. You need to make sure that whatever you are providing or whatever you can provide is aimed not at scratching your own ego or looking good, but at meeting the need of someone out there. If you're really lucky, you'll discover a new need, a need that they didn't know they had. Like nobody knew that they needed iPods, but Apple created the iPod, and people followed that. If you look at Malta, probably no one thought 20 years ago that there was the opportunity for such heavy traffic between Malta and Sicily, for example. But once someone provided good service, then that traffic grew exponentially. But the important thing is to focus on a need, whether people know that they have it or not.